Kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa. Te tangata whenua Aotearoa ko Māori au. Oh, hello.
Hello. Hi, Deborah. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I wasn't sure if I'd started or not, but nice to see you. I'm so glad I'm in the right space.
Yes. So thank you so much for joining this session. And previous session, Barbara's was amazing. And I hope you keep up with the same spirit throughout the session. So before that, we are actually going into your session, Deborah. So the topic for Deborah is embracing the feminine warrior. Okay, let's introduce you, and Soumya will be introducing you, and then you can go ahead with your speech. Soumya.
So let's start our next keynote speaker, Deborah Dixon. Deborah Dixon is a motivational speaker and coach with a mission to empower women to live with purpose and align with their vision. A former corporate leader, Deborah is passionate about guiding successful women to live authentically and deliberately, guided by their values and benefits. Despite facing adversity at young age, losing her mom at the age of 11, her resilience and transformation embodied the feminine warrior spirit. Originally from the New Zealand of Maori descent, Deborah brings another perspective enriched in cultural connection. Embrace your past, elevate beyond your barriers, emerge as the deliberate creator of your designs. So inspiring, Deborah. No words, just applause.
So let's all welcome Deborah Dixon, and let's get started. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much. So I wanted to start off like this, which is kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa. Te tangata whenua Aotearoa ko Māori au. Kai Melbourne, Australia, kainga e nainei, ko Deborah Dickinson tōku ingoa. So in my native tongue, I simply said hello to everyone, that I'm from New Zealand of Māori descent. I currently live in Melbourne, Australia, so coming at you from Melbourne, Australia, and my name's Deborah Dickinson, and I am the feminine warrior. So look, for those that are there, I would love to hear where you're coming in from. What is your cultural background? I can see some comments coming in. Thank you. Hello, Stephanie, Aliana. So please just share all of those. It would be great to connect and know where each other is from. Now, before I get started, to share with you a story around adversity to empowerment, where I hope that it resonates and motivates others to move through their own challenges. I am going to share with you 3 things that I've used and continuously use to help myself and others to always be deliberately living. Now, before I do start, I wanted to share with you, while I was preparing for this amazing event today, and look, I'm loving this virtual background, and just a little secret, it just means that I don't have to worry about my background. So I'm really, really loving this. But I wanted to share with you a story that I wrote many years ago when I was preparing for today. And it actually starts off with something like this. I'm standing in a dark room and the door is slightly ajar, just letting in enough light. But I know that I'm not alone, but I'm not scared either. And in an unfamiliar way, I know this place. And the light allows me to see off in the distance a silhouette of something sitting in the middle of the floor. And I walk over to it, and my heart starts to pump, and my tears start to well in my eyes. As I reach out my hand, and this little girl looks up at me, and she nods and she smiles. And she places her hand in mine. Now, we're going to come back to that story because I've got to tell you where it all starts. So, like I said, I'm from New Zealand, and I was born and raised in the top of the North Island of New Zealand, and I was surrounded by nature, beauty, love, freedom. You know, the paddocks were my playgrounds, and the trees were my swings and my slides, and the rivers and oceans were my swimming pool. I was this feminine little girl in her core. And I was so fortunate to be surrounded also by my grandparents, my great grandmother. I was draped in the wairua of my tupuna, the spirit of my ancestors. It was such a beautiful place, and I was in such a beautiful world. And there was one day, which was no different than any other. I was at home. It was school holidays. That's why I remember being at home, and I was only 11, and my little sister was only a baby. She was 18 months old, and we were playing outside on the veranda, and the sun was beaming down, and my father had left for work very early in the morning, as he always did, and my mother, well, she was never ever too far away. Now later that evening, friends stopped by for help. Now, my mother was always the first person to jump in and help people. So she jumped in her car, and I tagged along. So we actually drove to where their car had broken down. She'd parked behind their car, and she hopped out of our car and went to go and see how she could help. Now, not long after, I looked up to see her coming back towards our car, and there just was suddenly this big, massive, bright white light, and next minute, bang, just like that, she was gone, taken by an intoxicated driver. My world went absolutely blank. You see, in that split second on that fatal night, I went from that feminine, happy, free-spirited little girl to be plunged into darkness, fear, sadness, and grief. And my father was dealing with his own grief and emotions that I was left to navigate through my own turmoil of emotions. That was the day that this feminine little girl created her first warrior mask. Now, there would be many turns in life. At 15, I ran away from home. At 16, I was pregnant. At 17, I was married. And at 19, we were separated. And at 21, I moved to Australia with my 4-year-old son at the time. It was a new start, a new beginning. I worked, but I also had many relationships, long-term relationships, short relationships, relationships during relationships, just looking for love in all the wrong places. But through all that chaos, I would find a job. I would land a job that took me from the factory floor all the way to a general manager. So this was the start of my corporate career. The journey had begun. But you know what? I had never aspired to hop onto a corporate ladder. It was just something that happened. And when I looked at my past, it was the same thing. They just seemed like the next logical steps to do, regardless of whether the situation I found myself in was good or bad. The next logical step was what it was. Ran away from home, found myself pregnant, get married. After all, none of these things really impacted me because I'd already felt the worst thing ever, losing my mother at 9, at 11. So this corporate journey, it was amazing. Look, it was a journey that gave me everything that I know today in that corporate space, the skills that I have, the knowledge that I have now. And by accepting that general manager job, we moved interstate. And oh, by the way, I did find my soulmate, my husband, today. And we made quite big sacrifices to move interstate. I left my 2 older boys back in Sydney, where we moved from, and my husband had separated from his wife from his previous marriage, so he left behind two young children as well. So we made big sacrifices, but it just felt like everything was lining up for us to accept this. We had great jobs, great incomes, great cars, great home, nice home. So externally, we had all this success, and everything was just going to plan. And then about 18 months later, I picked up the phone. It was the owners of the business, and it was, he would always call, so it wasn't anything out of the difference. So I picked up the call and went, "Hi, how are you?" And he says to me, "Look, great. I'm just going to get straight to the point. We've decided that we're just going to close down the business." What? And immediately, my world just plummeted again. The turmoil of emotions, depression, everything started to set in. But again, this wasn't an unfamiliar space. I had been here many times before. And actually, I realized that every time I came here, I created another warrior mask, another warrior mask, and another warrior mask. Because I had to shield myself to never, ever feel that pain ever again of losing my mum at 11. Look, I would go on to work other jobs, but I was just rolling deeper and deeper into these moments. And on a Friday night, when you get home from work, you kick off the shoes and you put down the bag and you go straight to the fridge and pull out a bottle of wine and pour yourself a nice bottle of wine to relax and say, yes, the week is over. Well, that used to be me every Friday night doing that. However, the glass of wine turned into a bottle of wine. The Friday nights turned into every night of the week. And sometimes the bottle of wine became more than one. And it was my husband who said, enough is enough. I am no longer watching you destroy everything that you've done, every good thing that you've done. And as I looked up at my husband, I knew he was right. I knew that I had allowed this to happen to me, that I was wallowing in all of these things that I felt were not going right for me. I was accepting where I was. So with his help, love, and support, I surrounded myself with mentors, coaches, holistic coaches, breathwork coaches, meditation coaches. But look, all of them taught me to embrace and go inside and embrace who I had been to who I am now. They taught me to trust in myself again. And the more and more that they taught me, the more and more I became empowered and self-sufficient to be able to do that myself with continuous mentors and coaches around me. And I discovered something. And I discovered something really, really powerful. And as I laid my hand out to that little girl, and she looked up at me and nodded and smiled and placed her hand in mine, I picked her up and I embraced her. And I picked her on the cheek and I whispered in her ear, thank you. Thank you for bringing us this far. Thank you for creating the protection shields that you felt that we needed. But I'll take it from here. And we became one. You see that little girl that was running through the paddocks, climbing the trees, swimming in the pools of the seas and the rivers. I left her behind. I lost her somewhere along the way. Climbing that corporate ladder, maybe. Finding my way through life, maybe. But I found her again. I actually tucked her into a nice, safe space here for me to find her again. So, you see, we with me discovering that about myself, there was one thing that kept buzzing through my head all the time, which was my past, superpower past. And that was it. My past is my superpower. And your past can be your superpower. We have everything that we need. Sometimes we just forget. Sometimes we need to be reconnected. And I want to share something with you. I actually want you to take this moment, if you don't mind, is just to put everything down, whether you're sitting or standing. Just find a really, really comfortable position and just relax. I just want you to shake it off and relax and take a deep breath and just sink into that feeling. And I want you to just think about a moment when you were happy and free, and maybe it was when you were a little child. I just want you to really think about that moment. And then I want you to just quickly write it down, or please chuck it in the chat, and if you want to share that with us. But I just want you to resonate with that moment right now. And now I want you to do it one more time. And this time, I want you to see what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you feel, put your hand over your heart and just sink into that moment. Create that image, that beautiful image. Make it brighter, make it bigger, make it envelope your entire body. And bring love and joy into that moment and gratitude. And again, I want you to write this down, and I want you to ask these two questions. With the love and joy and gratitude in your heart, I want you to ask yourself, are you on the right ladder? When was the last time you felt lost or unfulfilled? And I just want you to quickly write what pops into your mind. And also, because this memory came up for a reason for you, the one that popped into your memory instantly. Because you see, later tonight or this evening or after the session, you can, sorry, I was just distracted by a comment and I'll come back to that. You can journal that, right? You can journal that, because right in those moments, you'll learn a little bit more about you, and maybe you might find your own feminine spirit, your own feminine warrior spirit. So, and there's a question in there about how, getting rid of the sufferings in the past and the pain without resources of thoughts, recurring thoughts, is that you do have to go inside. You do have to accept and acknowledge where you're at. You do need help with this. It is not something that I could have done alone, and I'm not suggesting at all that you can do it alone. So, and we can talk more about that a little bit later, but with that, it is one thing that I do to help through those past sufferings, is to write about it, because as we write, as the energy passes through our thoughts into our hand, into that pen, onto the ink, onto the paper, we start to really write and see and talk about the things that are deep inside. Now, the three things that I wanted to leave you with. Now, these three things I realized I had always done. I had just looked at them one particular way in the past, and with a warrior feminine mindset, I saw another perspective of them. And these three things are, number one, embrace. Embrace is all about awareness, acknowledgement, and acceptance of who you've been to be who you are today, to know where to start from. In the past, I used to you just embrace where I was, no matter what the situation was. It was kind of like, oh, well, suck it up, I'm here. I'm just going to hang with this.
Hello, welcome back. I think Deborah has some internet issue on her side. Suddenly, there was a disconnect from her side. We're checking with her. Please hang on for, yeah, I think she's back. Hi, Deborah.
Hello. I'm
I
so
think there
sorry. I
is
don't
a brief pause. Yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, thank you. So let me backtrack. Where were we? The three stages, right? The 3 steps that I go through. The first one was embrace, awareness, acceptance, acknowledgement of who we have been, so that we know where to start. Elevate into into new standards, right? Raise your standards. Elevate into the limitations that have been set upon you. And I do say upon you because we do create our own limitations, but we also get handed down limitations, whatever that might be for you, culturally, genealogically, but we carry others' limitations. And the last one being emerge. So that you emerge as the creator of your desires, of your destinies, that you create whatever it is, whatever the ladder is for you. Because you see, the thing was, yes, I was on the wrong ladder. However, it was just the wrong ladder. I still had everything I needed to keep climbing and being who I needed to be. I just didn't focus on me at the time. I was focusing on the environment around me. Now, before we close out, and I believe we do have a Q&A after this, so if there are any questions, I'm sure we can get back to them. Otherwise, I will absolutely do what I can to reach out to you. So just before we close out, I just want to say, you never know how strong, how brave, how confident you can be until you start going within. Right? It really does all start here. It starts with us. Now, this morning I opened up with in my Māori language, which is what we call our pepeha. When we introduce ourselves to an audience, we use our pepeha, which explains to the audience who we are, where we come from, and so many much more things. So the thing that I want you to do is, when you're redefining your boundaries, remember your roots. Remember who you are. Okay, so be empowered and inspired and influenced from within. So because maybe there is where you'll find your own feminine warrior spirit. And finally, whaate mā tauranga, hei oranga mō kaurua, koutu. Seek knowledge for yourself for the sake of your well-being. Ngā mihi nui, thank you very much. Ka kite anō. See you again. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Deborah. That was a wonderful and very inspiring speech to all our audience. You might have seen all the reactions and the chat, and almost there are more than 102 people watching this session, and we have so many questions which popped up. But I'm going to ask you very few questions. So the first one is, you said like in between we got some the connectivity issues. So the first question is, you said 3 steps: embrace, elevate, and what is the last one you said?
Emerge. The last one was emerge.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Emerge into your, well, it's kind of emerge and reconnect with who you've always been. So emerge as the creator of your destinies.
Definitely. I'll take that as a point. Thank you so much, Deborah. And your next question is, your journey is full of ups and downs. So how can we get rid of past sufferings and pain without reoccurrence of thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Look, and this was a big one for me, because I didn't realize that actually there was anything wrong or indifferent to how I was feeling. I actually just felt it was part of my life until I realized I was impacting those I love the most. So it is about having great coaches with you. This isn't something that you can or should do alone. But I found as a short term, definitely journaling absolutely helped, Because like I was saying before, as we let go of our thoughts through our, let the energy go through our arms to that pen to write on a piece of paper, we really start to let go of some deep inner thoughts. Now, the other thing that I would say also is that when you read that back knowing that you're in there to learn something about you, not to read the story and be a part of it again, but read the story and feel the story to find the moments that you can learn about you. Because let me tell you this much, even if you have those reoccurring thoughts, you are learning a little bit about yourself each time, whether it's positive or negative. It's just how we look at them.
Thank you so much. I was asking my team to unmute myself because thank you so much for your wonderful answer, ladies and gentlemen. So that's Deborah Dixon. Wonderful keynote session. So thank you so much for joining us. Please do post of any of your contact details in the chat so that our people can, get back to you if they have any questions or anything. Your PDFs or anything can be posted here. So that would be of great help. So, ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause to Deborah Dixon. Thank you so much. And the next one is like, as a couple of speakers are not here, so we just wanted to utilize this session as, as a networking session. So the speakers who are here, who want to, come onto the stage and have a small discussion about for 1 hour, you are welcome. Just ping us in the chat who wants to come to the front stage. I can get like probably 3 to 4 or 5, more than 6 speakers. We will get it in the next session. Please join the next session. And from there on, if you can chat us that you want to talk on a particular topic, please let us know the topic and we will have a networking session right away. Okay, in the next session. Please do join the next session. Thank you so much. Have a great day, Deborah.
Thank you.
Thank you.